Um, yes, we started recording. Depending on where you're calling in from across the globe, and or just down the street here in Michigan. Welcome to RCCG North America YAYA Academy Career Group's first workshop today, the 14th of May, the 15th of March, 2025. And the topic for today's meeting is cracking the optional practical training OPT to green card code. My name is Olusiji Fadile. I'll be your host, or traffic warden, if you will, for this amazing session. Before we dive into today's powerhouse topic, I will like to share a little about the dynamic force behind today's meeting. We are RCCG, North America YAYA Academy, and our vision is bold and clear: to empower, equip, and disciple young adults to flourish spiritually, intellectually, and practically in sync with their faith and life purpose. Through structured learning, inspiring mentorship, and hands-on training, YAYA Academy isn't just preparing you to succeed, it's setting you up to thrive in an ever-evolving world. We are here to cultivate astute leaders, to nurture authenticity, and to embody Christ's love in every facet of life. Whether it's in leadership, real estate, careers, finance, medical counsel, worship, media, mental health, and beyond, our mission is to make a lasting impact. We are committed to advancing His kingdom in powerful, meaningful, and very strategic ways. Stay connected with us on Instagram at YAYA Academy and be part of this vibrant movement. Once again, thank you for joining today, and let's start this journey. Today's program is titled Cracking the Optional Practical Training OPT to Green Card Code, like I said earlier. And in this transformative time, it has never been as important as it has now, regardless of your political stance. We recognize that this time, the pressing challenges posed by the evolving immigration policies affects everyone here in the US. As the United States continues to welcome a growing wave of international students into our universities, the opportunity to leverage your academic achievements and transition from a foreign student to legal resident has become more critical than ever. In this workshop, you discover a step-by-step roadmap crafted to guide you through the entire process. Our panel of experienced attorneys is ready to break down complex legal procedures into clear, actionable steps, empowering you to take control of your future with confidence and clarity. They bring not just expertise, but real-world insights that will help demystify every stage of your journey. But this is not all. I personally have navigated, and I'm still navigating this process. I'm eager to also share my story with you, my experience, serve as a testament of perseverance and, having proper guidance. So I will invite you to get ready to unlock the secret of turning your academic professional aspirations into reality. And it isn't just a workshop today, it's your launch pad to a future where determination meets opportunity, and every step brings you closer to becoming a legal resident in the United States. So I would say let's dive in together. And if you're ready to dive in with me, would you please give me a thumbs up in the audience? Give me a thumbs up in the audience. Thank you. Thank you very much. I see the thumbs up. Thank you. All right. All right. It seems we are all fired up and ready to go. Okay. So today's session will be broken down into three large compartments. One will be one session where we'll be having a presentation on understanding optional practical training, the concept of OPT itself, and work visa transitions. And the second one will be dealing with how to actually move from work visa to green card. We'll have two amazing presenters, highly qualified professionals, attorneys at law, to be handling these two sessions for us. And after we're done with that, we'll have one dedicated hour again to question and answers. I will invite you to continue to document your questions as the sessions go on. Just continue to put your questions in that chat room. Our team is monitoring the chat. and we'll be compiling all those questions and we'll be asking them immediately after these sessions. By way of introduction, I'd like to introduce our first speaker as we go into the first section very shortly. If you'd like to meet our first speaker, would you please give me a thumbs up again, just to make sure that you're hearing me loud and clear and you're ready to go? All right, thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, so our first speaker today, ladies and gentlemen, will be Oluwatosin Balogun, and he will be speaking on understanding the OPT pathway and the work visa transition. Oluwatosin is an experienced immigration lawyer with an academic background in mass communication, administration, leadership, immigration law, and international law. With 14 years of experience in international education and programs, Oluwatosin Balogun currently serves as the Associate Dean and DSO International Programs and Global Partnership at Wayne County University College District, Detroit, Michigan. He earned his undergraduate degree in Nigeria and proceeded to Central Michigan University for his master's in administration and leadership. He later earned a Juris Doctorate in Immigration and International Law at Western Michigan University and a Doctor of Education, Organizational Leadership at Oakland University. Oluwatosin Balogun is the principal executive at MBT Immigration Consulting LLC. He's a renowned speaker, a community leader, and an entrepreneur. Ladies and gentlemen, please would you welcome with me with a round of applause, virtual round of applause. Would you welcome with me Mr. Oluwatosin as he comes to take the session OPT, as he comes to take the session, navigating the OPT pathway and work visa. Thank you very much. Please put your hands together for Mr. Oluwatosin. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for the introduction. I really appreciate that. I thank you all for the opportunity to have this section. To the organizers, this is indeed a privilege, and I'm very excited to be a part of this very great community. To the question, OPT, the first thing that comes to mind is you need to understand that one, it is optional, and you also need to understand that it is practical and it's a form of training. So, just from the OPT itself, you can almost get the meaning out of it. One, it is optional, meaning it's not required that anyone goes into OPT. But for people who have decided or who would decide to go into OPT, it is indeed a phenomenal opportunity. And when I say phenomenal, I mean it can actually be the game changer between being a student and being a United States citizen or a permanent resident. Optional practical training is, should I call it an entitlement in a way, where it's a provision that is available to you after your program. And you can get one OPT per educational level. What does that mean? If you go into an associate's degree at a community college, you can get an OPT. You go for your bachelor's, you can get an OPT after you complete. You go for your master's, you can get OPT as soon as you are done. You go for your PhD, you get one as well. So per educational level, as long as you are progressing in your education, OPT is available to you. What you cannot do is get a master's degree, finish your OPT, then go to a community college to maintain your status. And after completing a program at the community college, you now apply for OPT. You don't get it at that point anymore because USCIS will define that as it's like a setback in your education. And you don't get that reward because you already did one at a master's level. So pay attention to that so you don't waste resources in the process. one at a community college to bachelor's to master's, and you just move up the ladder like that. So that's the first thing you need to know about OPT. Another thing you need to know is that OPT must relate to what you studied in school. So you cannot get a bachelor's degree in nursing and you're looking for a job at Ford Motor Company, except if they have a medical unit, meaning you can still work at manufacturing if there's a medical unit there and you can serve as a nurse or you can serve in their medical team somehow. So what you do in your OPT, meaning the field, must relate to what you studied in school. That's the second thing. The third thing about OPT is that you get it for 1 year. 1 year meaning 365 days. 1 year meaning 12 months, regardless of when you apply. Meaning, if you apply 90 days before your program is over or 60 days after, which is the grace period that you have, you still get your 1 year OPT. How do you start the process? You know your program. And I always say this all the time when I'm advising students. Always, at every point in time, speak to advisors to make sure that you are on track with your program. It is very painful, it is very hurtful to get close to completion, and all of a sudden, an advisor says, "Oh, you still have about three more classes to go." So always keep up with that process to make sure you're taking the right classes and to make sure you're on track with your degree. In that case, all of that done, 90 days to the end of your I-20. Sometimes your I-20 will go beyond your program. I've seen students with I-20s that will expire in a year and they are finishing a program today. The DSO already knows what to do. They shorten the program on your I-20 to accommodate the window of the OPT application. You apply for OPT 90 days before the end of your program or 60 days after. And when I say the end of your program, I don't mean your degree itself, I mean your I-20. And this is one mistake students make. If you apply for OPT within 90 days of I-20 expiration, then you have a good chance of getting it. If we have applied for 1,000 OPT, maybe one out of 1,000 denied. That is why I use the word entitlement in a way. If you get 999 approved out of 1,000, that is more than a good number. So don't shoot yourself in the leg by missing an opportunity that everyone gets because of procedure. If the procedure is wrong, the outcome is definitely going to be wrong. So you want to make sure you apply 90 days before or 60 days after. Remember, if your I-20 is expiring today, USCIS gives you 60 days grace period to decide on what to do, whether you want to stay in the country, transfer to another school, start a new program at your current school, apply for OPT, or depart the US. Those are the options you have after your program is over. So if you want OPT as one of those options, then you have to apply 90 days before, 60 days after. When you apply for OPT, usually it will take about 2 to 3 months for them to approve. Some people are of the opinion that if you apply online, you get it quicker. That's not my experience, but again, I respect other people's experiences too. Then another thing is the premium service. Of course, if you want to get it right away, you can pay extra $2,000 to do a premium service where immigration attends to you almost within 14 to what 30 days, and you can get an outcome from that. When OPT is approved, a letter is sent to you, and you also get a card. The card allows you, if you don't have a social security yet, it allows you, to get your social security number, and now you are ready for the job. Question: do I need a job offer before I apply for OPT? The answer is no. Remember, you have a degree. and we are giving you an opportunity to get a work authorization so you can go look for a job. The understanding behind that, or the reasoning behind that, is most employers will not give you an opportunity when you don't convince them that you are authorized to work. Some people do it because they don't want to get in trouble with the law. Some people do it because that's the policy of the organization. So, in that case, you don't need a job offer to get OPT. You never need one, not for OPT and not for STEM. You don't need a job offer to apply for OPT. A student called me recently and said, I just got my master's in geography. I've looked everywhere for a job, I can't find one. Because of that, I don't think I want to go for my OPT. And I said, that's a wrong decision. You don't need a job offer to get, to get OPT. Another thing about OPT that you also need to know is that once you are approved, you get a link from USCIS or from SCVP. You have 14 days to activate that link. If you miss that link within 14 days, you are at a disadvantage when it comes to registering your OPT portal. If your OPT portal is not registered, meaning where you self report yourself throughout your OPT season, then your OPT can be terminated. If USCIS terminates your OPT, it automatically terminates your service record with the school. So that is also a disadvantage and a pitfall that people don't pay attention to. Understand that your OPT, you must activate the portal, and that happens within 14 days. If you miss the mark on that, reach out to your DSO immediately and let them know to generate a new code for you. And once you get that code, please go ahead and set up your account immediately. The other question is, after I get my OPT, how long do I have to get a job? You have 90 days to get a job, meaning they give you, it's still within your 1 year, right? You get 90 days, which is about 3 months to report an employer. After 90 days, I don't get a job, what do I do? You can volunteer somewhere, put that information on the portal to activate it. So go volunteer somewhere and put the information there so you can keep your OPT active. Then, what else do I do after my OPT is over? And that takes us to the STEM conversation. And I'll still, answer questions at the end of the day for people who have questions. 90 days to the expiration of your OPT, you need to start working on what's next, right? You have 1 year, remember. 90 days will be after what, about 9 months out of the 12. Reach out to your DSO if you are interested in the STEM program, science, technology, engineering, and math, depending on your degree. And I'll post a link in the chat on how to know eligible STEM programs. Once you find your program on that list, reach out to your DSO and let them know you are interested in the STEM program. A new I-20 will be initiated. You cannot use the old one. The same way you applied for the initial OPT is the same way you go ahead and apply for the STEM, except for an additional form, I-983. When you put in the I-983, your DSO can upload that for you. You sign it, your employer signs it. The next question then is, what if I don't have an employment for STEM? Can I still apply? The answer is also yes. Instead of 90 days, though, to find a job with your regular OPT, with STEM, you only have 60 days. Once you get STEM approved, you have 60 days to find a job. So, those are the intricacies of OPT. It's a lot to talk about, but I know I have a co-speaker that I also want to give the time to. So we'll keep the questions coming. That way, we can specifically answer some of your concerns. After the STEM OPT, again, you get 24 months of STEM, 24 months. and that is 2 years. Your first OPT 1 year, STEM OPT additional 24 months, and that gives you 3 years in total. How do you navigate from STEM to a permanent resident status or to H1B? Remember, your employer will play a big part in all of this. H1B is a little bit different. OPT does not require you to have a job. STEM does not require you to have a job, but H1B does require that because it's a petition that your employer will put in for you. So, if I don't have a job, can I go for H1B? The answer is no. An employer petitions for you, just the same way the EB2 works or the EB1. A little bit different, of course, from the NIW where you can self-petition. But with STEM and H1B, if you are transitioning, then the organization where you work for would have to be the one to file the H1B. And once they file, what they are saying is they need your service, they need your expertise, they need your skills, and they want you on board. And that way, you can be with them. So we'll still talk more about the H1B process and how to go about it depending on the questions that we get. But I'm not sure if my 15 minutes is over. Trying
Yeah,
not
it
to.
is.
Oh, okay. All right. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Once again, please, will you give it up for Dr. Tosin Balogun? Please, let's have those virtual applause coming in from everywhere. Dr. Tosin Balogun, thank you very much for that insightful presentation. All right, remember, you can only get one OPT at every level. Remember, you have 90 days before graduating to apply for your OPT. You have 60 days after graduating, and then you have 60 days to also get a job. Sorry, 90 days to also get a job. No, the first OPT is 12 months. And then if you are eligible, the STEM OPT is, of course, 24 months. All right. Thank you very much once again, Dr. Oluwatosin. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for all the round of applause. Thank you very much. All right. We'll now be moving on to our second presentation. But before I go into the second presentation, I just want to remind us again to continue to keep those questions coming. The chat box is monitored, like I said, and during the question and answer time, we will also have the opportunity to unmute and ask those questions live if we choose to. All right, the second presentation will be about pathways from work visa to green card. And again, it's under 15 minutes presentation, and it will be done by no other person than Kelechi Akimbosede, who holds a business degree in marketing from the Early Board College of Business at Michigan State University, and is a Juris Doctor from Michigan State University College of Law. She's an active member of the State Bar of Michigan and admitted to practice in the United States District Court for the Eastern District of Michigan. Ms. Akimbosede is the founder and principal of Northern Law PLLC, specialized in immigration law, business and non-profit transactions, and traffic citations. Northern Law is committed to promoting justice for generations with wisdom, compassion, and grace. Ms. Akimbosede also holds an appointed position at the City of Detroit Office of Inspector General investigating allegations of fraud, abuse, waste, and corruption by the city employees, elected and appointed city officials and contractors who do business with the City of Detroit. Ms. Akimbosede has been a member of several professional organizations and committees. As a past president of the Vanzetti Hamilton Bar Association in Washtenaw County, Michigan, she led the organization in providing quality legal service to clients, free legal seminars, phone consultations, mentoring for future lawyers, and promoting equality and justice for all. Additionally, Ms. Akimbosede has an extensive experience as a civil and domestic relations mediator in the Washtenaw and Wayne County District and Circuit Courts. Ms. Akimbosede is actively involved in the community. In her spare time, she handles pro bono cases with legal organizations, volunteers, and various organizations and ministries, and mentors teens and young adults. Ms. Akimbosede has spoken on several panels and conferences nationally and internationally. She is passionate about learning to solve unique problems in creative ways, providing affordable access to justice, helping immigrant families, and connecting people to the right resource at the right time and place. Without any further ado, would you please, with another resounding virtual applause, make welcome Kelechi Akimbosede to the microphone to talk about the pathways to move from work visa to green card. Please, let's see those round of applause coming in. Thank you very much. The floor is yours.
Thank you so much to the moderator, Mr. CJ. Can everyone hear me?
Loud and clear.
Loud and clear. Great. Good morning, everyone. I hope everyone is excited to be here, just as like I am. Thank you to the entire team of organizers for this forum for the Young Adults and Youth Affairs Academy. Thank you for the opportunity to be able to speak this morning and impart some knowledge onto you. I'm learning from you just as you are learning from us. So thank you very much. And I would like to thank especially the leader of the career team for this organization, Minister Olukunle Akimbosede. Thank you for your commitment to the ministry, your love and passion for youths and young adults everywhere, not just in this region, but everywhere around the world. Thank you for your mentorship. We really do appreciate you. And I'm also pleased to be here with my learned colleague, Attorney Oluwatosin Balogun, who has done a wonderful job presenting to us on OPT and the H-1B visa. And he's an incredible asset, really, to the students, not just here in Michigan, but also around the world who coming from various African countries and other countries to want to school here in the United States. So he's a great resource. And thank you for imparting that knowledge upon us today. And we'll hear from him again soon. And there are many takeaways from what Mr. Tosin shared with us today. And before I continue with the presentation, I just want to stress the importance. I know our moderator talked about it earlier, about the climate, the immigration climate that we're in. It's a very fast changing immigration climate. So what was true last month or even last year, because of the current administration that we're in right now, it's not necessarily true today. And it's not because immigration laws have changed, because they're very old and antiquated laws, but the enforcement of these laws have definitely changed, given from the direction of the administration. And in some ways, it's very scary, as we will see. And so it's very imperative that you and I do a good job of staying on top of the knowledge, getting ourselves acquainted with and understanding this immigration space and other spaces as well, because immigration kind of touches and concerns not just employment, but various aspects of our society. So I really want to stress the importance that you seek better understanding, either from reading. There's a ton of resources we can share with you online, or be sure to also speak with a competent immigration lawyer. I know immigration lawyers, there are many of us, but a few of us specialize in various parts of immigration, especially business immigration and family immigration. So there are many different parts. So you want to talk to somebody to get adequate consultation and representation for your case. Another thing that Mr. Tosin alluded to was the importance of the DSOs, so the student officials, immigration student officials at your school. Be friends with them. As an international student, be friends with them. Let them know you, know their office, ask questions. I'm sure Mr. Tosin can attest to how annoying some students may be, but it's good. It's better to be on the side of knowing too much and over asking questions. There are no stupid questions in this space. Because even just listening to him speak, there's so many deadlines that you have to keep on top of. And it's very hard for a student on top of your academics to also pay attention to what immigration is requiring from you. So please, I hope you took that big takeaway to be acquainted with your DSO. Let them know your plans. Also, your advisors for school, so they can advise you on what is important in your degree and moving forward to permanent residency. So like our moderator shared earlier, we just covered the insights and outs of the F1 visa, the OPT. program. Now we're going to cover just a brief highlight of the transition from non-immigrant visas, which is the OPT or the H-1B visa. We're going to now talk about immigrant visas, so employment-based immigration visas, which are direct pathways to permanent residency. Just to give you an overview, there are about over 140,000 immigrant visas that are available each year for immigrants who want to become permanent residents here in the United States, based on job scale, not just based on family affiliation, but based on job scale alone. So that's not too much in the grand scheme of the population in the United States. So these visas are nice because they allow you to quickly adjust your status from non-immigrants to immigrants and eventually to lawful permanent residency. The employment-based visas are located among 5 preference categories. So some immigrant visa categories will have require you to have a permanent job offer from a U.S. employer who will be considered the petitioner on your petition, or you, in some cases, you will have to self-petition and file on your own. So you won't need an employer to file on your behalf. And we'll get into those details shortly. The first step in understanding employment-based visas is to understand the labor certification process. It's also known as PERM, so the Permanent Labor Certification Process, in case for those who have heard about this. And it's a process where a U.S. employer demonstrates to the Department of Labor, which is a federal agency, that there aren't enough qualified and willing and available U.S. workers for a specific job, allowing them to, that means that it will allow them to sponsor a foreign worker, an immigrant, for a green card. So the Department of Labor is pretty much saying that, and also assuring that the admission of foreign workers to work in the U.S. will not adversely affect job opportunities for United States citizens. You know, if you listen to the news, one of the scare tactics while the anti-immigration sentiments is that immigrants are coming and taking jobs from American workers. But that doesn't really apply here because the Department of Labor is on top of it, making sure that these are jobs that they can't find qualified U.S. citizens to fill. That's why they have to look outside for those who are interested. So that's the first step. So once a permanent labor certification process has been filed by the department, then the department will be able to ask immigration authorization from USCIS, which is the United States Citizenship and Immigration Services. So let's get started with the first category, and I'm going to run through it. It's very nuanced, all these categories, and we'll ask questions about them later on in the presentation. So for the EB1, that's the first preference. It's reserved for people of extraordinary ability in sciences, arts, education, business, or athletics. It's also reserved for outstanding professors or researchers and certain multinational executives and managers. And you have to really pay attention to the definition of these words, because what you may consider extraordinary ability is not what immigration or what the United States considers extraordinary ability. So for extraordinary ability, you have to show, this is reserved for people who won, the geniuses who won, Pulitzer Prizes and Oscars and Olympic medals for their work, for their various work of expertise. And so they're looking for evidence such as a membership in renowned international associations that require outstanding achievement. They're looking for whether or not you've sat on a panel to judge other people in your field. Your work has been whether or not your work has been displayed at exhibitions and showcases internationally. And really what they want you to do is not just be a superstar in your country of origin, but also that you're coming here to the United States to continue that work. So to file under this category, you have to file no employment, job employment is or offer is needed. No labor certification is needed. It's something that one can petition on their behalf using the I-140 form. And to define outstanding professors or research, you have to demonstrate that you have international recognition for your outstanding achievement in a particular field, and you have at least 3 years experience in teaching or research in that specific academic area. So they're looking for evidence of major prizes and awards that you've won, membership in associations, These are the types of things that they're looking for. Evidence, is what you can show for all these categories that will really determine whether or not the USCIS grants your petition. So again, like before, no labor certification is needed, and you will be able to file. For this one, you do need a U.S. employer who will file the I-140 petition on your behalf. Next, let's move on to the EB2 visa, which is the second category. This preference is reserved for people who are members of professions holding advanced degrees, or for people with exceptional ability in the arts, science, or business. For advanced degree professionals, a labor certification is required. So you must possess that and also an advanced degree. So to define advanced degree is anything that is above a bachelor's degree. So you will need some kind of official academic record to show that you have that degree. They also accept equivalent bachelor's degrees from your country of origin as well. And they require, in addition to this, they require that you have at least 5 years of progressive post-bachelor. So if you don't have a master's, you don't have a doctorate, you have at least 5 years of post-bachelor's work to be able to, in your field of specialty, to be able to qualify. Now, there are exceptions to the labor certification requirement under the EB2. And a lot of people have a lot of questions about this because this is very popular. This is the NIW, the National Interest Waiver. This is an exception to the labor certificate requirement under the EB2 category. So those who are seeking the National Interest Waiver, they're requesting that the job offer and labor certification be waived because in the interest of the because it's in the best interest of the United States. So those ones will petition, these people petition on their behalf without an employer petitioning on their behalf and or sponsoring them. So you will not need to obtain a labor certification if you go through this route. Now, this NIW, although it's very popular, it's very nuanced because they're looking for there are really 3 elements to prove, and we can get into that more in detail later. But the 3 elements or prongs, so to say, is that you have to provide evidence that your endeavor has substantial merit or national importance to the United States. So an entrepreneur, for example, cannot demonstrate national importance solely by just opening up a consulting firm for seeking those who are working here in the nation for that occupation. For an engineer, that's an occupation that is well recognized, awesome, but an explanation is needed, of what your proposed project or endeavor is. You have to specify what the specific goals and projects are that will warranty them to even consider you under this element. The next element they look at under NIW is evidence that you're well positioned to advance your endeavor, evidence that you have some kind of activities or awards that will show that you are an expert in your field. And the third prong that they look at is a balance prong. It will be something that where you're beneficial to the United States, where they can waive this job offer. You have to prove beyond that. So you can see there's a lot of evidence that is required under the NIW, although it's very popular. Letters from U.S. government agencies are very instructive to the agency. News articles demonstrating what you have done for the society is also very demonstrative as well. Academic research, and we could go on and on. Award certificate, you have all those in line, then this is for you. But if you do not, especially in this climate, if you feel that you don't meet those requirements, you can wait until you do meet those requirements. Because the nice thing about the NIW is that you can file under this, petition under this category at any time. You can also do it concurrently. So while you're seeking H-1B or seeking any permanent residency through family or any other means, you can also file for this as well. This will not affect what you're doing or what the adjudication of your other cases as well. And the nice thing about this as well is that you do not have to be in the United States to apply for the NIW. You can apply from outside of the country as well. So enough about the EB2 NIW. Let's move on to the EB3, which is the third preference. This is reserved for professionals and skilled workers and other workers. And people who are skilled workers are people who are capable of performing skills and labor that require at least 2 years of training or experience. And so they also, unskilled workers also apply under this, and this is something that you also file using the I-140. Not so much to speak about under that category. It's not so much of a popular one for us. The fourth to the last one, the fourth one is the EB-4. This preference is reserved for special immigrants, so includes religious workers. So this is a popular one, and I'll go into it in a little bit because in our community, we tend to use this. There are many people who take advantage of the I-1 religious worker preference to file for lawful permanent residency. But other people also qualify under the EB-4. You're looking at members of the U.S. Armed Forces. You're looking at people people who retired from NATO organizations, international organizations like that. You're looking at broadcasters. You're looking at minors, special juvenile who are wards of the United States can also apply under this category as well. So this category is a lot of it will require that your employer file a form I-360 form, which is different from the I-140 in the other categories. And for the petitions like the R1 visa, there are ways that you can also self-petition. So for the R1 visa, this is for individuals who temporarily want to work in the United States as ministers or any other religious pastors, any other religious occupations in something like a church or any other religious organization, and it has to be for at least 20 hours. They're very specific about that. So you must have a formal job offer. This is not a self-petition. You have to have a formal job offer from the religious organization or institution. You have to have been a member of that denomination. So you can't just come in, join a church, join a mosque, and then have them petition for you. You have to show that you've been a member of that organization for at least 2 years prior to you filing under this, the R1 visa. And the nice thing about it is that you can also file for your family members to join. And for the other categories as well, family members who are spouses and children under 21 are considered family members for immigration purposes, and they're allowed to have the same benefits that you have. And the last category, I know I'm almost up of my time, is the EB-5 category. And this is for investors. So all our wealthy men and women of God on this forum who are looking to invest, the threshold is $1 million. It used to be $1 million, but they've increased it to $1 million. $50,000 or 800 in some instances. If you could invest in some kind of a commercial enterprise that will benefit the United States and also hire at least 10 full-time U.S. workers to work in the United States. So if you fit into this category, this is for you, and you'll be able to become a permanent residency through this channel. No labor certification or job offer or employer is needed under this category. How much time do I have?
If you can just begin to round up.
Okay. So in wrapping up, I want to because remember I mentioned earlier that what was true last year, what was true even last month is not true today. So I just want to run through some brief policy highlights or updates affecting employment-based visas. So if you understand, during the first 2 weeks of the president's administration, he signed over 40 executive orders covering several areas. And some of those areas affect immigration. So the Department of Homeland Security, which is the agency over immigration, they've been asked to enforce certain things in ways that they haven't enforced before. So some things I want to highlight that you should pay attention to is that what has been in the news of late, I believe it was the Department of Education that got the axe just a few days ago, where half of its workforce was eliminated. So that's going on across federal governments. And guess what? The Department of Labor and also USCIS is a federal agency as well, who will be facing mass layoffs. So what that means is that we are going to be expecting huge backlogs, right, for applications and petitions that have been filed with these agencies because they don't have enough staff to be able to meet the needs and the demands of the applications and petitions they're receiving. So this has an effect on immigration as well. We're going to be seeing increased scrutiny and vetting of applications and petitions. So areas where they haven't looked at before, I believe one that came of late recently is the NIW. Even before this new administration came into power, they started looking very closely at NIW petitions, even the ones that have been approved. They were looking to see whether or not they should have been approved, and they're actually revoking some approved. So that's a big deal. They're actually revoking some things because they found out USCIS wasn't doing their proper due diligence in making sure that people qualified. So that's something that we also have to look out for. And with the mass layoffs that are happening and the backlogs, it's not just affecting here in the United States, it's also affecting US embassies and consulates in other countries as well. For example, in Nigeria, I believe in Lagos, the embassy, the U.S. embassy there, is experiencing some issues where they even stopped for some categories, looking at new visa applications. So that is something that we are seeing. We're seeing increased inspections in H-1B work sites, so where they can perform raids. So employers have to make sure that they have all their paperwork in check. And I will discuss the other ones as we go through. Hopefully in the questions, we'll be able to answer the other areas where the executive orders are impacting employment-based visas. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Once again, please, will you give a virtual applause to Ms. Kelechi Akimboside for that insightful speech? Thank you so much. Thank you. I think many questions were answered in those two speeches. They were very packed, very condensed, and very beautifully delivered. Thank you very much. All right, now we are where we want to be. We are in a question and answer session. Again, I will implore you to continue to send in those questions to the chat box. Thank you very much for the applause. Thank you, everyone. All right, begin to or continue rather to send those questions to the chat box. We have some already pre-submitted questions, and we will be taking all those while we continue to gather all those questions in the chat box. And again, like I said, if you want to speak, kindly just raise your hand, and then we will call on you, and you can unmute and ask your questions live for our facilitators to answer. All right. I'd like to start with you, Mr. Tosin. Because you went to Central Michigan, that's my alma mater as well. I also did my master's in Central Michigan in 2019. All right, so the question here is, what are the options after OPT and F1 students? What are the options to remain in the US after work? Is it only just STEM OPT and then the regular OPT and H-1B, or is there any other way to remain in the US?
The first thing I advise students to do is return to school. That reduces the pressure of looking for an immigration option. Remember, if your OPT is ending and you only have about 90 days, there's so much you can do within that window. So the best thing would be is, even if you completed your master's, you can look for a community college around and start a new program there. That gives you 2 years of I-20. That allows you to stay legally in the country, renew your driver's license, and continue to live life the way you were prior to your OPT, and strategize on the next move. That is always the easiest thing.
I agree.
And honestly, that's the first thing. Then once within that 2 years, then you can now start to strategize on other things that you want to do. And I know the scope of the conference is OPT, but I've seen students go for advanced degrees. I've seen students adjust status, through other means. I've seen students apply for NIW, like Ms. Akimbosede just mentioned. And I've also seen students, just started a new program. Why they wait, for another application to go through, like H-1B and all of that. So return to school, get your status active, back to normal, and, take your strategies from there.
Thank you very much. I want to allude to what you said about getting another admission really, and again that also tells a little bit of my story. After my master's completion at Central, what I did was I got another admission again at Central. I didn't have to, just as a contingency, just like you're saying. And
Exactly.
what I did, I got a job immediately after my master's, but I had that admission just in case. You have just
Exactly.
90 days to make any decision,
Exactly.
so you don't want to leave
Yes.
all that to chance. So I think that's a very good strategy. Thanks for sharing. But
Absolutely.
another follow-up question. Some people talk about OPT as for folks that are already working on OPT and maybe especially those that are non-STEM that just have 1 year. They talk about CPT, and that also deals with the DSO. I just wanted you to maybe talk briefly about that.
Yes. So the CPT option is curricular practical training, right? A little bit different from the OPT, meaning whatever you're doing your CPT on must be embedded in your program. So, for example, you're in the nursing program and there's a portion in your schedule that requires a clinical, then that takes you to the CPT route. Most schools would say we don't have a day one CPT. They want you to have been a student in that program for sometimes a semester, sometimes 2 semesters. There's no intent. What are you taking to the employer when you have not even started the program? You know what I mean? So you don't have the experience, you don't have the skills, you don't have the education to begin a CPT. So if the school is a day one CPT, then you can get that right after you finish your OPT.
Mhm.
If it's not, they require you to be in school at least for 1 semester. Some schools will say 1 academic year. 1 academic year, by definition, is 2 semesters because summer is optional, except if summer is your first semester. So, if that's the case, then you don't get CPT almost immediately. Immigration for F1 is universal, right? 50 states, same thing. But about 50% of some of the things that we do as DSOs are policy bound. It's what the school decides to do. Some schools will tell you if you get terminated, we don't reinstate. That is not USCIS, that is the school policy. Some schools will say we don't approve CPT. That is not USCIS, that is the school policy. And it's discretionary at that point. So what you want to do is to make sure that you not only know what immigration says, that you also know what your school wants. And you have to blend the two. One does not work in isolation of the other. You have to blend the two, and that is what helps you, to navigate this very technical, very easy but technical uh, immigration space.
Awesome. Is there any way to is there anything, any resource to leverage like those kind of schools that have day one CPT, for folks that might, be getting to the end of their OPT, their STEM OPT or their regular OPT? Is there any resource to leverage to know what schools to quickly get admissions in?
Absolutely, yes. There are a lot of schools online. Sometimes all you need to do is just type in they want CPT schools, and you have a long list of institutions. Most of them are in California, and I know most students don't want to move there. Life is expensive in California. Um, there are a lot of them in Minnesota as well. Maybe what I would do is to compile the list and send it to the organizers so they can share with the students.
Yeah, thank you very much. All right, I'll be
Absolutely.
moving now to you, Ms. Kelechi. I thank you once again for that presentation. The first question, or like a common theme in some of the questions I've reviewed from the presumpted question, is really about the NIW. How do I navigate it? Can I write it myself? Must I consult a lawyer? What documents are the most important to include? How do I really, come up with a convincing petition? Yeah, please, if you can speak on that a little bit.
Yes. For the NIW, you do not need a job offer. Like I mentioned earlier, you do not need an employer to petition on behalf. It's something that you petition on your own. And you can do so, while at any point in time, not just while you're in school. So some people who are in their master's program, doctorate, are petitioning as soon as they can qualify. So there's a lot of paperwork and a lot of evidence that you must show. So it's always best to have a lawyer who can help you. It's something you can do on your own, and there are many people, there are a few people who I've known who filed on their own. But in order to avoid requests for further evidence or just missing something, it's best to compile this information and speak with a lawyer who can help you put it together so it fits under those three elements that I discussed earlier. What you must show under prong 1, prong 2, prong 3. And like I mentioned, because of the recent policy changes due to this administration, they're doing extreme vetting of every petition, and they're looking at the NIW very closely because the US policy manual, they found that USCIS wasn't really following it like they should have. So there are some people who should not have gotten the approved under the NIW who did get permanent residencies under that. So they're making sure that they're taking a closer look on this. So strong evidences again that you're looking for are letters from some kind of US government agency on your behalf, news articles showing that you're well published in scholarly journals and scholarly articles. This is what they're looking for in your specific field, not just in every field, but the specific field of expertise that you're claiming that you have. You should have awards, you should have certificates, licenses to show that. You should have your papers. So at the end of your application, I'm not surprised that your packet will be this thick, of what you're, and it's always better to submit more rather than less information under the NIW.
All right, thank you very much for that. Very quickly, someone is asking here in the audience. He said, I applied for, sorry, 1 second. It says, does attending an online school in the US keep you in status, or must you attend school in person to stay in status? I think that question is for you, Mr. Tosin.
Yes, the F1 code requires that, for undergrad, your full time is 12 credits, and 12 credits will mean 9 credits on campus. And that's the law. 9 credits on campus, regardless, and 1 online. Meaning you can take all the reasoning is if you want to take all your classes online, you don't need to be in the US to do that. You understand?
Right.
You can do that anywhere in the world. So 9 credits on campus, 1 online. For graduate school, full time is 9 credits, 6 out of which has to be on campus and 1 online. And that will apply to all graduate degrees. So, however, some schools that I know will have an hybrid structure that allows you to come in on campus maybe once in a week. But that once in a week usually will be about 9 hours for 1 day. You understand? You still have to meet that 9 credits on campus for undergrad. And for graduate, you need 6 credits. So if you have an institution that is encouraging you to take all your classes online, and it's not a 1 semester thing, maybe you have an exception for health reasons, for which we call medical, or for any other reason, maybe you're not feeling too well, or you have language issues, or it is almost impossible for you to physically be on campus for whatever reason, security issues, and all of that. Something that the DSO has to put in the system that we are giving you some kind of accommodation this semester. If it's an ongoing thing, I would advise that you find another school almost immediately. And why is that? When it's time to apply for immigration benefits, that is when things that you did in school will start to come up. They're asking for your transcripts. They're asking for attendance. They're asking for a DSO letter stating that you took your classes on campus. And the DSO will not be able to write that. And you lose out on the benefit. And sometimes you lose your status. So you don't want that. It is not a benefit for anyone to tell you to do something illegal. It is not a benefit, and that is the truth because it will definitely come up sometime in the future. So your DSO is not being nice by telling you to do something that the government says no to. So make sure you understand that 9 credits must be on campus
Correct.
and 1 online for undergrad and 6 and 3 for graduate.
Awesome. Thank you very much for that. I'll be moving back to you, Ms. Kelechi. So this person says I applied for an EB2 NIW, but due to extended processing time, I pursued a master's in maintaining my status. Now I'm eligible for OPT, but securing a job has been challenging since my experience is primarily in academia, and OPT work permits cannot be used for academic positions. I would greatly appreciate your advice. Is it true that OPT permits can be used for academic positions?
That I'm not aware of. I believe that you can, universities and institutions, government institutions that also can be OPT candidates as well.
Correct. Yeah. That's my understanding as well. And there are also questions around knowing if one can do these little jobs like DoorDash, like driving Uber on F1 on OPT as well as on H1B. If you can just clarify those real quick.
Is that question for me?
Yeah, any one of you can answer it.
Let us remember or remind ourselves what the goal of OPT is and what H1B is. You have to have some kind of degree, and your job should be related to the degree that you are seeking or petitioning for a visa for. So while you can do DoorDash, drive for Uber, and do all these other jobs, off-campus jobs, you do have to meet the requirements of OPT and meet the requirements of H1B and the other categories as well. And there's strict requirements. So once you've met that, there's nothing that stops you from having other side volunteer or for-profit jobs as well, if that answers your question.
Okay, so for H1B specifically, it's usually tied to one single employer. So in that case, can you even do anything aside from that, even though you've met the requirements for the H1B in that sense?
Yes, you can. You can even be employed with multiple employers under the H1B as well. So multiple employers, so long as each of them have filed a petition on your behalf, you are able to have multiple employers under that category.
Correct. So my understanding before now is that when you're changing employers, once the new employer files on your behalf, the H1B is transferred from your previous company to their company. But are you saying you can work with those two companies concurrently and it doesn't affect your immigration entitlements going forward?
There's something called portability, right? So if you're changing H1B employers, you may begin working for the new employer as soon as you properly file a separate I-129. So you do have to file a separate I-129 petition. The company files it rather on your behalf. And so long as you're still under the duration of stay for your previous H1B and they do it on that, then that's fine. So you can continue working for that employer, and when the new one is approved, you begin working for the next employer. If the new petition is denied, you still have to meet the requirements of the original I-129 that was filed for you. So it's very important that you pay attention to the duration of stay when that expires. If anything happens with employment, either you pour it out within a certain period of time, or you risk getting that privilege terminated.
Awesome. Thank you very much. All right. Is it possible to start a business? I think this question will be for you, Mr. Tosin. During your OPT, can you start a business, and also during your H1B, is it advisable to start a business?
I personally don't have a problem with it, and I don't think the law does. The question is always, what's the limit? And for a business person, it gets to a point where you're doing very well in that business and you don't even know when to stop and what the restrictions are. So, if you must do that, my advice would be please make sure you have an attorney on speed dial as you do that at every given time to make sure that you are within the confines of the law and as the requirement. The question also is what happens when OPT expires? Do you dissolve the business? What do you do? You understand? So these are some of the questions that you want to ask to make sure that you're in good standing with the law. I don't have there's no problem to, doing that. You are authorized to work, meaning you're authorized to earn money in the country. OPT, however, and the business, the question also goes back to, is it related to what you studied in school? What kind of business is it? You understand? Who is supervising the business? Are
Yeah,
you a
but
subsidiary of an established organization?
mhm,
What exactly are you doing? Independent contractor. Like there are so many, things that you can do with you having your own employment. But a startup business, yes, it is possible. But again, the law and the
got it.
limit. Yes.
But can I use that business? Can I use, if I have an already established business in the US, can I use that business to apply for OPT or H1B?
Again, you don't need a job offer to apply for OPT. You're talking about STEM.
Yeah, can I? So, there's a requirement to continue my OPT. I have to
Yes.
have a job within 90 days. So, can I work in my company as that job in that sense? And for H1B as well, I need to continue working, for my H1B. Can I use my company to apply for my H1B?
This is what I've seen students do in the past. They'll look for a citizen who is interested in that business, register the business under their name, and they work there. There's conflict of interest. You are reporting yourself in your own organization. So it's very dicey, right? So what you want to do is, I have a student right now who does non-emergency medical transportation out of Georgia. What she did, she looked for a friend that they graduated together in school who is a citizen, started the business under her name, and both of them are working on it together. And that is our OPT, and everything is fine. So what happens is whatever is signed, whatever is required, for USCIS reporting and all of that, is the other partner who does those.
Awesome.
Yeah, so that's a safer route in my opinion.
Got it. Thank you very much. All right. I think this question will be for you, Miss Kelechi. This is a question from a nurse.
Follow up, bless you. I'd like to follow up on that question. I
Okay.
think while that may be good with OPT, you may run into some issues. I'm not sure if you can speak to
Which
that
H1B?
under the H1B category. When
Right.
it comes to can that business, be it the partnership or sole proprietorship, can it file for you and be an employer? That may be where you will run into issues. And remember, OPT is temporary. It's under a certain time limit. With H1B, you may find that with the entrepreneur, the company, if they're able to get a labor certification and to go through that labor certification process, there's so many things that you have to show. Can
Yep.
they show that? Can they meet those requirements as a company? Can they meet the requirements that they can't find any U.S. citizen to be able to fill those positions? Can they register online? Do they meet those requirements? So that is something moving forward beyond OPT that you have
Mhm.
to consider.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. Meeting those spam process can be very difficult for a young company. That makes sense. All right. So again, this question is from a nurse, and then her question is, can a nurse with an approved I-140, she has an approved I-140 from EB3 application. She's asking if she can go for H1B without jeopardizing her approved I-140.
Yes. So, because the nurse is in a healthcare industry, I would say that the with go for H1B. Is that correct? If they have a company
Yes.
who is willing to sponsor them, or hospital, university, whatever, willing to sponsor them, there are three categories that under healthcare, which they really look at the physical therapist, nurses, physicians, some healthcare administration candidates also can qualify under H-1B as well. Nurse practitioners, they're generally qualified under H-1B. So, and also it will largely depend on what the specific job-specific duties are and additional requirements that the position calls for. So as long as they can, this individual is within the 60-day grace period that they still have a valid status in the United States. Once they find a hospital or an organization that's willing to file for them, they can go ahead.
Yep. Awesome. In the same vein, Mr. Tosin, if you could please just talk on this one a little bit. It says, does clinical mental health counseling program qualify for STEM? And which of the EB visa category does counseling career qualify for? You're mute, sir.
1 second. Well, it depends on the level of education also. Did you say masters, or did they mention what level
No,
of education?
there is no level of just clinical
Oh, okay.
mental health counseling
Right.
program.
Yeah, so that is offered at almost every level.
Mhm.
There's, you can have it as an associate, as a bachelor's, or master's, or even PhD. So all of that will also play a part. But as far as STEM, I have to check the list. It's a long list of programs, and some of them are not even written the way they are said. Because what USCIS will do is sometimes they will generalize, because programs are coined by different schools for whatever reason that they do it. So, for example, you see a program like criminal justice, right? And when you check the STEM list, what you find there is homeland security and national security. So
Mhm.
everything under security, under criminal justice will fall under that. So sometimes it's not written explicitly as the school will write them sometimes. But yes, the list, I think this is a good time to share that list so that we can access that as well.
Thank you very much.
Sure.
I think also we can also include that as part of the resources we will be sending out after this session, for everyone's consumption.
Absolutely.
All right. This person again is saying that I didn't apply for my LPT. I think this question is still for you, Mr. Tosin. I didn't apply for my LPT after completing community college because I transferred my credits to a university. As a result, I didn't officially graduate with my associate degree. Now I have 3 semesters remaining before I graduate with my bachelor's degree. Should I wait until then, or can I apply for OPT now?
You've already transferred to for your bachelor's, so
Yeah.
you lost that OPT at the community college. So you have to wait until you complete your bachelor's before you can get the OPT. And that takes me to one more thing that I wanted to say on the STEM. In a situation where you got a STEM bachelor's, right? Your bachelor's was in science, technology, engineering, and math. One of them, and you applied for OPT with a different degree, right? The question is, can I go back to that STEM degree that I never used to apply for STEM on a non-STEM OPT that I'm currently doing? And the answer is yes. You can definitely do that. If you had a STEM program in your bachelor's and you just end your master's in a non-STEM program,
Hmm.
and your OPT is about to end in your non-STEM program, you can go back to your STEM bachelor's to apply for a STEM OPT, if that makes sense. So that is
Wow.
also a provision, yes.
Yeah, I never knew that. I think that is very good information to know. So
Absolutely.
yeah,
Yeah,
you can have an engineering background, come here for maybe like a non-STEM business administration degree, and then you can still go back to your STEM. That's very good to know. Thank you.
yeah, absolutely.
May I add, could
So
you
yeah.
clarify, Mr. Tosin, could you clarify, because my understanding is that there are two different types of OPTs, is the pre-completion and the post-completion. So for the
Mhm.
student who is currently in school, why is it that they will have to wait? Is that for all students or because of that community college background? But the student who is in school can also apply for OPT even before their program ends, correct?
Yeah, that's true. The pre-completion OPT, as a matter of policy, some schools don't even offer it anymore. Why is that? Whatever you do in your pre-completion OPT is deducted from your main OPT. And they always believe, DSOs discretionarily will believe that your OPT at the end of your program serves you better than the pre-completion OPT. That's number one. Number two, if OPT process takes about 3 months to approve, and you only get in, let's say, pre-completion, you want 6 months out of your 1 year, you end up getting about 3 months for pre-completion OPT, which they don't think it's good enough um, to, to serve your interest in that capacity. So
Mm.
yes, there's pre-completion OPT, but as a matter of advice, I always say wait until your program is over so that you can get the full 1 year, and that gives you an opportunity, except if you have more than certain a job offer
Mm-hmm.
and you cannot wait until that program is over because you don't want to lose the opportunity. Then in that case, a pre-completion OPT will be fine then.
Okay, I think there are so many questions coming in for just OPT. I think we have many students online. So this person is saying that if my visa expired, my F1 visa expired, and I have my EAD and I have a job, I believe this person will most likely be on OPT at this time. The person is asking if it's advisable, if it makes sense to go to like neighboring countries like Mexico, Canada, Dominican Republic to get their visa renewed and then come back into the US. Is it advisable at this time to take that kind of adventure?
Based on my experience, I always say that it's always very easy to leave the country. To leave America is very, very easy.
Yeah.
It's coming back that is always the issue. So
Okay.
I I really don't advise that you do that, especially with OPT. Do you know that I had a client that actually went for interview for a green card, and the USCIS officer was actually asking this person, when did you get your work authorization? As a student, you cannot get it. And she said, oh, yeah, I got OPT. He said, no, there's nothing like that. And that was a USCIS officer telling a student. So now
Wow.
imagine going to the border and someone says to you, what is OPT? That answers the entire question. So sometimes it's yes, it's the law, yes, it's written, yes, you know it. The question is, will you even get a chance to answer or even
Yeah.
to explain yourself? So on that note, I'll say please don't. But is it legally okay to do so? Yes.
Yeah. It's
And
legally
that,
okay. Yeah. Go
yeah,
ahead. Sorry.
and not everything that is legally, especially in this climate that we're in. Maybe
Right.
if you asked that question, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, maybe you will be more
Absolutely.
positive about your chances of coming back. But it's not advisable to travel as a student, even with a legal advanced parole that allows you to travel as a student, whether an OPT or not an OPT. Also, if you've ever overstayed your stay in the United States under the student visa or under any other category, it is not advisable at this time to travel. Secondly, if you've ever committed any kind of crime, because that is a high enforcement priority for the administration right now. So they're looking
Mm.
at not just felonies, but misdemeanors, anything that will cause domestic violence, whatever. Even people who have been arrested for even protesting in some of the movements that are going on right now. If you've ever fall into any of those categories, it is advisable that you do not leave the country until things settle down.
Yeah, I think just say a little bit about what you guys have said. I think it's just you never know if they're looking for you, at the border. So it's better not to just attempt. Except maybe of course you have a cogent reason, right? To maybe like very important, something that is just non-negotiable. But I think it's to your point, important to get your permanent residence before venturing out of the United States, especially at this time. Especially at this time. All right. In the same vein, so if you have overstayed your visa, or your visa has expired, um, what is the best thing to do? Unfortunately, maybe an F1 student or an H1B worker or whatever it is, have overstayed their visa at this point, and how do they get back into status, and what is their best option?
There are not many options that are available once you overstay your visa. Again, make sure as a student you pay attention to the dates written on the I-120. Under H-1B, for some reason the employment ends with the employer, or whatever reason you can't find another job, it didn't work out. You have a grace period. So at least what they do is that they give you that 60-day grace period where you can decide, strategize what you want to do next. Whether you want to adjust your status, through any other means, self-petition, do something within the grace period. Because once that grace period ends, you've overstayed. There is not many options that you have, but to leave the country or to, to go incognito, to lay low until something else, happens. You come up with another plan, either through a family petition or something else. So you're not going to find an employer once you overstay your stay here who will petition for you while you're here in the country, unless you leave and go through that process. But there's not much you can do outside of that. Mr. Todd, is that your understanding as well?
Yes, 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 it is. Except for one thing that I've seen people, people have done in the past, and again, it's all about timeline, and that is applying for reinstatement as a student. So if you've overstayed your visa and there's a restatement opportunity for you, but it's good that you do it at least within 5 months of being out of status. If it's beyond 5 months, the chances of getting it is very, 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 very slim, almost zero. So find a school. As a matter of policy, a lot of institutions are not interested in filing for reinstatement. It's just like there's a lot of explanation that you have to do as a school. DSOs dread those letters. They don't want to write it. You have to explain why the student is out of status, why they didn't take classes, what happened, or because of some disciplinary actions on campus, plagiarism, and all of that. So it's a lot, and they don't want to get into it. If you are lucky to find a school that is willing to recommend you for reinstatement, I'll say hold on to that institution, and go through that process. But for the most part, the options are very slim.
Thank you very much. All right. There's a question about EB5. The EB5 is, I know, like the requirement. I think it used to be $500,000. Now it's like $1 million and $1 million plus. So, is it possible to use real estate? Is there any way to use real estate to do that?
For your personal resident, it has to be commercial enterprise. A commercial enterprise means that something that is for profit, used for profit activity, and employs at least 10 full-time U.S. citizens. So you can't use your family members who don't have their
on OPT.
Yeah, or you can't be on OPT and who are on OPT and use them to say I'm employing them. That will not qualify under this category. So it has to be a commercial enterprise for profit. So anything, if you have a permanent residence, I know some people have said if they bought, $1 million house, $2 million house or whatever, would that qualify? No, as long as it's used as a personal residence, that will not qualify. But if it's for commercial purposes, yes.
Awesome. So maybe like an apartment complex, and you're employing 10 people to, I don't know.
Exactly.
That has to be a big apartment complex, or maybe you have a nursing home, something like that, right?
Yeah. And then, some people, what I've seen in the past is that you don't have to do it all on your own. There are people who join, to force forces with others as well to come up with that, $1 million+ threshold to be able to invest. So if you can do that, then for sure, it will definitely qualify.
Oh, so you're saying that it doesn't have to be the $1 million. The interest doesn't have to all be in the petitioner's name. It can just be, the whole enterprise. Is that what you're saying?
I would say that if maybe in the company that you, yes. So if it's a company, a joint venture, corporation, limited liability company that you have, and you have members who are part of that. That's my understanding, at least. We can always look into this more if you are more interested. Who are invested in that organization, you would apply, and whoever under that, and you don't have to be. It doesn't have to be that million plus times 5 or however many people are petitioning. You just have to meet that $1 million threshold.
Awesome. That makes sense. Thank you. There are several questions coming from folks studying mental health counseling. This one says, which EB visa category does mental health counseling career qualify for?
I would say for the mental health category, you can probably look at the EB2. I don't see it being falling under the EB1, which is I don't correct me if I'm wrong. It doesn't sound like it's unless you have some kind of extraordinary ability, or you're a professor or researcher in that space, and you are renowned for the work that you do. You've discovered or innovated something within that field. Then it's definitely EB1 you can look into. But for the EB2 visa, where you're holding some kind of advanced degree in as a mental health, you have to produce your transcripts that show that you have the advanced degree, or you have a bachelor's degree in that field plus progressive. So you have to now show 5 years of progressive experience in that field. So if you can meet that threshold, then the EB2 will be for you. Then you just have to have the evidence to show documentation to support your visa, either as an NIW or under the regular EB2 category.
Makes sense. This person, I think, has done a master's degree in mental health counseling and is currently in the PAM process. I believe maybe an organization is filing for them. But then they are still waiting for H1B, of course, because the PAM process takes a while. So H1B just to bridge that gap. What else can they do? Is there anything they can do, or they just have to continue to wait for that PAM process to get their green card? Is there any way to fast track the PAM process, or is there anything they can do for the PAM process?
To my understanding, you just have to wait. You have two different things going on. You have the NIW, you have also the employer filing on your behalf. Whichever one comes out earlier, whichever one is adjudicated earlier, because they have two different processes, then that's what you will go with to your path to permanent residency. So it's it's driven, whenever an employer petitions on your behalf, it's really driven by them. Even though you can push, the attorneys or whoever is filing that paperwork, they also have to wait too for the Department of Labor or the other agencies that are relying on for information to go through their processes. And like we discussed earlier, there's a backlog. There's a huge backlog in government agencies, especially federal government agencies, in adjudicating these cases, whether it's the permanent labor process or NIW or whatever, or visas. There's a backlog, so you can expect to wait. None of us can give you a timeline like we could before on when things should take place. It's really will be up on a case by case basis at this point.
So for USCIS backlogs and NIW application in particular, it's been taking long as usual. But do you advise folks reach out to them to ask questions around why the application is taking longer? I know there's a window where you can ask questions, and then after it surpasses that window, then you can ask questions. Do you advise that those questions are raised to know what's happening with people's applications?
You can always reach out and also check on your application online, the status of your application as well, and they'll let you know what information that they can give you. Ultimately, you'll be waiting for them to make a decision on your case, and so there's really no guarantee that if you go through a certain process, you will get to them faster. You can always call, and see where you are in the process, or check online and it will say pending, whether it's been approved. For some people, I've had situations where they haven't, not just for the NIW, for other immigration benefits as well. They changed addresses, or even the company, not for NIW, who filed on their behalf has changed an address and never updated USCIS. So you have a situation where they're communicating, if not online, they're mailing, information, petitions, decisions, even requests for further information to old addresses that were not updated in their systems. And because with these letters, they have a deadline on which you have to respond. If not, the application will be denied, or canceled. So they've missed those deadlines and missed those correspondence and everything. So you want to kind of stay on top of your petition whenever you file it, whether it's through online, calling the number on your notice of action, or staying on top of it to make sure that any communication that comes from USCIS, you have it, your attorney has it, your employer has it. You just want to stay on top of it.
Awesome. Thank you very much. All right. I just wanted to send a quick note to everyone that we have so many questions coming into the chat box, and we might be responding to some of them offline, because of course we have a limited time here. And then as part of the correspondence, we'll be sending out to everyone those materials we spoke about. We'll also be sending out the contact of our attorneys here today to maybe answer some of your questions, and you can also contact them. But I have a question here about the R2 visa. It says, can I attend a day one CPT program that allows me to work full time while on the R visa?
Okay. Okay? Yeah. So technically, the R visa is not F1, right? And because it's not F1, you don't get a CPT on that. The R visa allows you, not even every institution allows you to go to school as on R visa. So some institutions allow you to do so. I know Wayne County does, and you only go to school, and for the most part, you are paying out of pocket. So you are not even regarded as an international student, and that does not qualify you for CPT because that is something that is very, very specific to F1 status for the most
Awesome.
part.
So if you're on R visa, oh, sorry, go ahead. Sorry.
No, sorry, as a dependent, which I'm thinking this individual is on R2, so they're dependent on the R1 visa, family
Correct.
member brought in by the R1.
Mhm.
There's certain restrictions that you have in terms of working, that's not, an option for the family member, but they can go to school, I'm not sure, independently or as an R2. Or another option they have is to adjust their status to
F1.
F1 that, yeah,
Right.
and then they'll be able to benefit from the nice things and benefits under the F1 visa, even as an R2 candidate.
Right.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. And then also, I think that will also apply to a visitor, right? If a visitor comes into the United States and they don't want to go back, they want to be on this part. I think is it possible to move from the B1, B2, the regular visitors visa, to then move to F1 in that sense? And of course, also, if you're on F2, can you also move to F1? Could you just speak about that a little bit?
Yes, absolutely. B1, B2 can move to F1, that's for sure. As long as you are still within the 6 months that you were given, or whatever time you were given at the port of entry, you apply to a school, you get an I-20, you get an acceptance letter, then you complete the I-539 form, which allows you to change your status from B1, B2 to F1. And once you pay the fee, you pay the service fee, you pay the I-539 fee, which is $470, to apply, and the service fee, the $350. You can apply online or you can send in a paper application. And once approved, you begin classes within 30 days of approval. So that is for the B1, B2. For F2, I've seen a lot of families, switch from F1 to F2. So you currently have husband on F1, and he finishes his program, and F2 becomes F1. Or you've also seen children of F1 status who would go from F2 to F1. One thing for sure, if you have children here and you're on F1 status and they are F2, always note that as soon as they clock 21, they fall off your F1. It is not something that is manually done. It is system generated. So you want to pay attention to that to make sure that before they turn 21, you get an application in to switch them from F2 to F1. If you don't do so, they are out of status, and that may not be too good for them. You understand? So, and I've seen a lot of bright kids, go through this process out of ignorance, and now they get scholarships that they cannot take because they don't have the requirement. There's no social security. There's nothing. So you want to pay attention to that as a parent. As soon as your child becomes 20 and they are on your F1, please start applying for them to be on their own. I understand the financial implications and the reasoning behind people wanting their kids to stay as F2 because as F2, you go to school part time, you are not monitored by USCIS, the school is not asking you to take 12 credits. So it's a little bit cheaper for mom to be in school taking 12 credits and daughter in school taking 6 credits. It's cheaper, yes. However, you don't want them to be out of status. So that is
Mhm.
very critical.
Awesome. Thank you. All right. There's another question here that says that there's something called hardship visa that some international students get approved for while in school, to work for full time outside school. Could you speak on that a little bit and how it concerns OPT and STEM OPT?
Yes. So you have economic hardship. I always say to students that if you want to work, there are options, right? One, you can get a job on campus. Two, you can apply for economic hardship. Three, pre-completion OPT. Four, OPT, and so on and so forth. So with economic hardship, what you want to show, this you can only apply for after you've been a student for 1 academic year, meaning you cannot apply for it as soon as you become a student. Remember, the message you're passing is I have a sponsor at the time of admission.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, my sponsor can no longer sponsor me because of economic issues. Or maybe they lost their job, God forbid they died, or we fell out, our relationship is not as good as it used to be, or they don't have the money anymore, or other responsibilities came up. Then you're now asking of the government to give you an opportunity to go work off campus. What are the things that you need to show? One, the sponsor must write a letter withdrawing their financial assistance or whatever conversation you had with them. If the relationship, if you guys fell out, you may not be able to get a letter from them. But maybe you have messages, maybe you have emails, or you have conversations that you had with them, to show that they are no longer in that space, to support you. Or maybe they are in the hospital, you have medical records. Something must come from the sponsor. And I'm talking about immigration ready application now. Something must come from the sponsor. That's the first thing. The second thing is you approach your DSO at the school and you let them know, I've been in school for a year. I'm doing well academically. My sponsor is no longer available to support. I need work authorization, right? Then the DSO recommends you. When the DSO recommends you, you get an I-20. And on
Mm.
the second page of your I-20, it says students has actually expressed compelling reason to work off campus. Please, process accordingly. You get the I-20 and you apply to USCIS using the I-765 form. When you send in the application, it takes about 2 to 3 months for USCIS to turn that around. If and when approved, you get a work authorization that allows you to work off campus 20 hours during school, 40 hours when school is not in section. It's written on the card. Then you go through that process. This is one thing about economic hardship. And a lot of students say, oh, if I apply for economic hardship right now, when it's time to apply for green card, it's going to haunt me. The answer is no. Remember, this is not a public charge. This is different from taking health benefits. It's different from taking a bridge card. These are two different things. Economic hardship is not taking benefits from the government. It's you asking for authorization to work and support yourself through school. So you have to maintain satisfactory academic progress for that to even happen. If you fail in your classes, government is not going to allow you to go work. You didn't work, you failed classes. When you start working, what will happen? So
Yeah, makes sense.
you want to make sure that you are in good standing academically so that you can boost your chances of getting the economic hardship approved. Then you have that for a year. One thing, if your I-20 is expiring in 10 days and you apply for economic hardship, when approved, you only get it for 10 days. So you want to make sure that at the time of application of economic hardship, you have at least a year or more on your I-20. At least a year or more. So you don't shortchange yourself in the process of the application. At least a year or more. Accommodate the 3 months of processing time and get your full 1 year because you really need it, right? If you have 6 months left on your I-20 and you say, oh, I need economic hardship, your DSO may not even catch that. And once the economic hardship is approved, you get it for maybe about 3 or 2 months. And you've spent a lot of money trying to apply or to work for 2 months. You haven't even seen a job in 2 months. And at the end of the day, economic hardship expires. To your other question, economic hardship does not affect CPT, it does not affect OPT. What affects OPT is 12 months of CPT. If you go for CPT for 12 months, it actually blocks your chances of getting OPT. So that's the part that I felt you were trying to talk about, but the economic hardship does not in any way.
Thank you very much. All right. Very quickly, we're almost out of time. In 1 minute, could you just speak on what best to do? Because there's been lots of reports of people on F1. They are on F1, and they are trying to bring in their spouse on F2 and be denied several times. Is there anything they can do differently that can help them, in their when they have to go face the consular?
Well, basically, you also want to ask these questions. One, did you transfer up when you got to the US? Some people came in for masters, they transferred to a community college. And now you're using a different visa and a different I-20 to bring a spouse. That's number one. Number two, you need to also understand the rigor that is associated with your program and why you need a spouse around. So if you are in let's say you're in a PhD program and you need your spouse to provide support. That's the whole essence of F2, right? To provide that support system. That may not be the same argument you will make if you transfer to a community college. You understand? And that may be one of the reasons why people get denied. Number two, people start to apply for F2 when they are almost at the end of their programs. And the question is, what are they coming now to do? You've been here for 5 years. You understand? So maybe you have decided to stay and you want your family here. So those are the nuances you want to pay attention to, the timely application of those F2s and, show enough financial support, show that you are doing well in class, show that you have some kind of letter of support from your school, that will accommodate whatever scholarship or accommodation benefits you're getting from the school. Those are the things you want to show in a way that you don't present your family as a burden to the country.
Correct. Okay.
And that would be my take on that.
And I would just add to that, and not sure so how it applies to non-immigrant visas like the student visas, but for sure when you're applying for a spouse under the immigrant visas to the I-130, it definitely applies. So I would say that congressional intervention is something that can be used for someone who is here, whether you're going to school or you're a permanent resident, you've established residency in any United States state or a school, you can petition, or it never hurts to go to your congressman or congresswoman in your district. Let them know what is going on. That's, this is your spouse, your child who is under 21. You've been trying and trying, but the U.S. embassy in your home country or the consulate is blocking them from entry. So after you've done and checked, making sure that you've checked your T's, dotted your I's, and crossed your T's, the congressperson can intervene even more so than a lawyer. They have sometimes more authority and more power than we do as lawyers to contact the U.S. embassy in your home country to let them know that, hey, we have a resident, a student who is facing some kind of hardship because they don't have their family members here. What can you do? And those are very powerful tools that have worked in the past. So don't neglect that. You can always find out their information if you don't know the congressperson who represents your district and where you school, where you reside. Look online for that information. To their office, call them or write them a letter, and they'll be able to help you in that matter.
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you very much once again for all that information. Thank you for your presentations and thank you for this question and answer session. Please let us give a virtual round of applause once again to our facilitators. That will be the end of our question and answer today. Thank you so, so much. We cannot thank you enough. All right. Very quickly, before we go, we'd like to take a survey to just get a brief feedback from everyone. I think the producer should be popping that up very soon, and then you'll be seeing that on your screen. Just quickly help us fill that survey. And without much ado, once again, thank you very much to our facilitators. And then I would like to quickly hand over to the head of career at YAYA Academy, Mr. Olakunle Akinbosede, for just a brief closing remarks and a brief closing remark. And then I will come back to give some brief announcements before we close today's event. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Thank you. So good afternoon, good evening, everyone. On behalf of RCCG America's One YAYA Academy, I truly do want to express our deepest gratitude to all of you for attending today's conference. I do want to also extend, my heartfelt gratitude to our distinguished speakers, Ms. Kelechi and Mr. Tosin, for just a great presentation and also insights into the immigration process for students. And finally, Brother CG, who has facilitated and moderated today's meeting. Truly appreciate your efforts there. And to the broader team that have been part of the support team, Dr. Chi, Edmund, Sister Damola, Sister Angela, Brother Edric, and our most able head of the YAYA Academy itself, Pastor Yeti. Thank you for all the support. That's it for me. Brother CJ, over to you then.
Thank you very much. Please give a virtual round of applause again to Mr. Olakunle Akinbosede. Thank you so much for putting together this program. He's one of the backbones of making sure that we're having what we're having today. So again, just want to say thank you. Before I say that, I just want to remind us that we'll be sending a communique of everything that we've done here today, including the contacts for the attorneys that facilitated today's session. So look out for that. I hope you put in your emails while you were registering. So on that note, I would like to say thank you once again for coming and thank you for attending. And if you enjoyed this session, I want to invite you to another session that is coming in very soon. It's going to be happening on Saturday, April 26, 2025, 10:30 a.m. to 12:30 a.m. And this session is about the marketplace transformers. Is a webinar about the marketplace, the marketplace transformers, staying at the cutting edge. And then we'll be exploring a lot of topics, including identifying opportunities, discover how to spot gaps in the market and turn them into profitable ventures, innovative thinking, embrace creativity, and out of the box thinking to stay ahead of competitors, leveraging technology. I'll also be teaching on how to build disruptive culture, foster a culture of innovation within your organization and to continuously drive change. Our expert speakers will share real-world experiences and actionable insight to help you navigate the ever-evolving marketplace and landscape. We have Jimmy Tewe. I'm sure that is a household name, world-renowned transformational. Can anyone still hear me well? Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Oh, awesome, awesome. We have Jimmy Tewe, our world-renowned transformational specialist and consultant across several industries. We also have Tolu Michaels. He's a global entrepreneur who helps clients across nations show up and stand out. He's a brand manager. Whether you are an entrepreneur, business leader, or aspiring disruptor, this webinar is for sure for you. So register, and we have the registration. I think the flyer is displayed right here, and then you can scan the barcode on the flyer to register. All right. On that note, I would also like to say, if you like to be a part of the YAYA Academy volunteers, please reach out to us. We need more hands, of course, and to continue to move some of these things forward. And we would love to have you. I think that is it from me, and we'll just be taking a closing prayer, and then we'll be closing out this session. I would like to call on Mr. Kunle Abosede once again, our head of careers at YAYA Academy, to please close us out with closing prayer. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you, Heavenly Father, for today. Thank you for such a time like this. We bless the speakers, we bless the moderators, we bless all those folks that were behind the scenes planning and getting this thing ready. We bless all the attendees, Father Lord. We pray that as they leave this place, Father Lord, everything that they are seeking in terms of their immigration status, Father Lord, you will answer it. Every question will be answered. Every problem solved. And Father Lord, they will live their full potential that you have already planned for them in Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen. Again, thank you. God bless you. And that's it for me.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you. Bye-bye.